Alright, I've had this necklace for a while, and I've wanted to make a box for it. And I didn't really have a box that I liked until I found this box. So, I'm going to make one and share how I did it. First thing you have to do is measure the box, the interior, and then subtract about 1/8 of an inch. So this is 8 inches by 6.5 inches. And then you're going to need to cut a piece of mat board, 6.5, whatever dimensions, but these dimensions are 6.5 by 8. You need a blank piece of paper, like a scratch paper, and then a piece of sturdy board. And when it's all cut, I usually cut the corners too, because the fabric will bunch up in the corners. This isn't really necessary, I just do it because it seems to help a little. And then you take your blank piece of paper and then your necklace and get a kind of estimate of where you want it. Now this necklace is kind of odd because when it sits in a box it'll kind of go like this, or at least I kind of want it to. So I need my circle to be, or my shape to be a little bit bigger than the interior that I'm going to get from these links. So it doesn't have to be perfect either, just kind of a general shape. And sometimes I use most of the time I use foam when I make these. Sometimes I've used those CD cake boxes, I think they call them, those clear plastic things. Just put that right in the center. That looks pretty well. Alright, and then I need to make it a little bit bigger. Just do that with a scissor. And then you cut it out. Well, because I want it to be kind of even, I'm going to fold it over. And again, this technique allows for some leeway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It actually looks pretty good. So we've got that. Looks like it'll be pretty good. And then I use this foam, this AirTech stuff. It's an agar-based foam. And then I take my little shape. You could just draw directly on the foam, but I don't know, I find this a little bit easier. Now, the thing about the foam is it's very staticky. So, all these little pieces that come off are going to stick to my scissor. It's very important too to cut straight up and down, don't cut it at an angle. Because otherwise, if you cut it at an angle, you're going to get a completely distorted shape. But I usually just try to cut straight, 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 all the way around. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's the tension of the fabric is going to pull down a little bit on it, and the necklace will squeeze it a little bit, so it really doesn't have to be, you know, supremely perfect. I use a heavy, usually use a heavy fabric, kind of flexible when it stretches a little bit, because then it'll conform to the shape. I like using jersey t-shirt material. That's the best I've found so far, and I've made quite a few of these because I've made a lot of weird necklaces that didn't have boxes, so I made these to match. Okay, see, it's not perfect, but that's okay. And if you want it kind of rounded, I usually do it on the bottom, because the top's usually a lot cleaner than the bottom. So if I want it rounded, just cut these and then kind of go at an angle like that. And I have to stress again that it doesn't have to be perfect. Drive yourself nuts trying to make it perfect. I've done it, but it really doesn't. As long as your fabric is reasonably heavy, it should be okay, because it'll all get squished down. Alright, that looks pretty good. See, staticky. Alright, let's see how that works. Looks like it might be a little bit big. Oh, that looks pretty good. That's pretty dang good. Actually, it's going to be a little bit bigger because of the fabric. I wonder if I should cut it a little bit. Man, that looks great. Yeah, I think I am going to shrink it a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's test it. I've already pre-cut my fabric. Basically, the fabric just has to be maybe 2 inches larger than your board. And I cut these little angles just because I don't want it to bunch up on the bottom too much. So, I don't need that now. Just go like this, test it out. Oh yeah, that's fine. Excellent. Okay, cool. I like it. Now you have to glue this on your center of your board. Actually, you know what? Let me trim this a little bit more. You could just tape it with double stick tape, but I like putting the glue on there because it, you know, keeps it nice and safe, and it means like 10 years from now it won't fall apart. Or, you know, it might, but it's more likely that it won't. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we got a hot glue gun. Yeah, not quite. Yeah, well, wait a minute. See what else I can do. Alright, while I'm waiting for the glue gun to heat up, I will show some boxes. This is the first box I found of these Champions, but I kind of like the black and silver one. This is a Champions box, and this other one is called Champions 2. Yeah, I like it. Alright, cool. So there's that one. I also like these Cohibas. This is one of my favorite boxes. It's a really nice wood. I love their boxes because the color's so beautiful. The only thing you have to watch out for is, like, I buy this on eBay sometimes, and you can usually see in the photos, if you got good photos, if this lid is a little bit far back, if it's not flush, the lock won't close right. And the reason I like these is because it's a snap lock as opposed to just a kind of a clip lock. It stays more sturdy. But if in the pictures you see, if this is flush, the snap should close pretty well. And this is for smaller necklaces, thinner ones. The chisel. Nice and thin. It had these wood pieces in there, but I pulled them out. And this is a new box. I've never used this one, but I got a couple of these. I thought they were pretty cool because they're nice and mellow. You know, nice blank wood. I was thinking actually about, you know, maybe making some sort of covering for this, or staining it or something like that. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but it's a really nice box. It's well made. Clasp is good. And if they have these things in them, you can take them out. They just come right out. And what I used to do is I used to take them out, and then I'd put the insert in, and then I'd put them back in. But I found that a lot of them didn't really fit afterwards, because they'd be raised up about 1/8 of an inch, or maybe, you know, a little less than that. And sometimes they would fit, and sometimes they wouldn't. I liked the way it looked because it pressed down the sides. Yeah, that looks like it might fit pretty good. Yeah, so this one would work. And then, this is another new box that I got. This has 2 of the snap closures. Beautiful. I kind of wrecked this one, because these come with labels on them. You get these little, you know, Surgeon General warning type stickers on them and stuff. And this interior, I love this box. This is a beautiful box. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this one, but it's really cool. And this insert had these really weird spiky things in it. Normally I would just take this out, but I don't know, I was feeling inspired. So what I did is I actually took a saw and I cut all those out, and then I sanded it so it was nice and smooth. And I might paint it. I might paint it silver or something, depending on what necklace I use. Anyway, these Oliva boxes are pretty nice. And they're a good size too. They would fit, you know, most necklaces, because they're pretty tall, you know, over 1 inch. So we're going to glue this on here. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just squirt some glue on there and go, go, go. A lot of times too on a necklace, the clasp will be, see how the clasps, it leaves a little bit of room, so it can be thinner on the top if you need it to be. It needs to be a little bit thinner. Yeah, see, I should have done that. I should have thought about that beforehand. Alright, let's test it. Looks like I can go with a little bit more. Yeah, that'll still fit though. Not that big a deal. Cool. All right, now that's done. So the next thing is to place the fabric. This is kind of a tricky move. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole operation. Because you want to keep it loose, but yeah, it didn't work out too well. Now I use double stick tape. Just run it along here. And then remember, keep it kind of loose, just kind of fold it up lightly. All right. The only real important thing is to kind of keep it straight, you know, so that you don't bunch it up on the top. But again, this will all be hidden with the when you squish it down inside the box, so it's not something you really got to take that seriously. unless you're me. You take everything seriously and you drive yourself insane trying to make it perfect when it's just a t-shirt and a cigar box. But I've made enough of these to know that I don't need to be perfect. They still look cool. And it is kind of a forgiving design, I guess. Because like I said, all these little wrinkles are going to be hidden underneath. Oopsies, did it backwards. Now, let's see what we get here. No, just because, oh, that's pretty good. I'll just squish it down. Now, let's see what we got. See if I can remember which one is the top and which one is the bottom. Alright, that's pretty good. Now, I'm going to tape this up a little bit more, just to make sure it doesn't flop around like a fish. And again, you can bunch it up. It's not that big a deal. It'll be hidden. The only real things you have to worry about are the corners, because if you get the corners crooked, then the corners are going to flip over the side, which is exactly what this one's going to do. So we're going to fake it. We're going to go like that. And we'll do that with this one too. Alright, so now the easiest way to get the glue in here is to squirt it into the box. Again, make sure you're putting it right side up if you made it off center like I did. Alright. Let's see what we come up with. Now, just load it up. I got the world's cheapest glue gun, but it does the trick. I also like these thin glue sticks too, because it doesn't load up with so much. And then I usually kind of put it in the front, and then plop it down. And now I don't mind the little waves, because the whole thing, I actually kind of think that adds to the effect personally. And they're going to happen no matter what. And I also like the fact that it makes it look kind of, you know, it looks like a softer look. It's not so, you know, structural, I guess. And here is how it looks. Looks like I could have, well, I like it. I like it. I think it looks pretty good. Now, because this box is so tall, it'll bounce around. And I don't really want to do that. So what I usually do is I take the same technique and make just a square block. Looks like this. And glue that in the top with my running out glue gun. Excellent. Looks great. And if it bunches up in the corners here like it's doing, you can kind of fudge it a little. I've also taken like a scissor, put it down there. But over time it'll gradually develop its own little place. And then, man, this looks great. I've been wanting to do this for 6-7 years. This was actually in a magazine. It was an art jewelry magazine years ago. It's probably one of my favorite necklaces I've ever made. Wow, that looks great. Okay, cool. So that's how you make a necklace box out of an old cigar box. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. One of the reasons I like this box is because of the zippers. It's very secure. Alrighty. Here are some variations. And this one was an unusually shaped necklace. Well, not unusually shaped, but it sits kind of strangely. So I just traced in the interior here, and then I traced that onto foam, flipped it over, traced it again, cut those foam pieces out. I rounded them off pretty good. And then, because it's got kind of a, you know, combat vibe, I used some camo fabric from an old t-shirt of my daughter's. And then this one is this weird tantrix necklace that I made. I really like the way it turned out, but I needed an odd shape for it. So I made this star shape out of foam, and the ribbed cotton conforms to shapes a little bit better than the non-ribbed. So I used that, and I put a little border around it out of mat board, and I'm not entirely happy with that because some of my glue squirted out right here. But it's just a fun little necklace, so I'm not that concerned about it. So there's some variations.